and gentlemen, my name is Rod Gilbert and welcome to Four Stands Up. Welcome to our live audience here at Greenwich up the creek and to our trillions of listeners at home. Any drivers in? Yeah, we got a couple in, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? The old drive-in. Yeah, I drive a lot. We spend far too much time on the road in this job. I spend far too long in motorway service stations, specifically. And what's happened to the service station? Yeah. See, in the old days, that's what it was like, wasn't it? A top shelf magazine, a bit of petrol. That was it. That was the halcyon days of the service station. Now they seem determined, don't they, to sell you everything under the sun. Have you noticed this? You go in the lobby there, they've got that random pile of unrelated stuff. And do you end up buying that stuff? I only stopped for a poo the other day. I came out with a two-man tent, a director's chair and a torch with the power of 1,000,000 candles, whatever the hell that is. Have you seen those torch with the power of 1,000,000 candles for $3.99 they are? Have you noticed? I know, 1,000,000 candles for $3.99. That's going to spell the end of the single candle, you mark my words. Tesco's do candles in packs of 5 for $1.99, so that's a saving of nearly 400 grand you get in there. It's not much, but every little helps, doesn't it? I buy these things, I've got no idea how bright that is, have you? Has anyone here got any notion of how bright 1,000,000 candles is? Have a think, just stop and think for a minute. I have give me a frame of reference I can understand. I don't think in candles, do you? 100,000 has got to be enough for any domestic situation, hasn't it? Have you ever been down the cellar with 900,000 candles? This is hopeless, I can't see a thing down here. Mother, throw me down another 100,000. We're in the second row down, let's get a bit of light down here. I've only ever seen 26 candles lit at any one time. It was my granddad's 90th, he was bonkers by then anyway, it didn't matter. He did have 90, but I got there late and blowing out the first 64 killed him, unfortunately. It's true, I had to ring my mother. From the services, I had to ring her about the torch thing, you know, because my mother's, see, as an elderly gentleman, do you have a torch by your bed every night? You don't? See, does anybody's parents do that out there? My mother will not go to bed without a torch. Every single night she has to have a torch by the bed. Every single bloody night. It's in case there's a power cut. In the night. How will you know, Mother? You switch everything off before you go to bed anyway. If you wake up in the middle of the night and everything's still off, why not just assume all is well, you mental old bat? Instead of rushing for the fuse box, that's where she's going. The fuse box, the fuse box, the fuse box. Everybody, she doesn't even know where the fuse box is, what it looks like, or what to do with it. She might as well keep the keys to the Batmobile by her bed. It's true. I rang her, I said, Mother, how bright's 1,000,000 candles? I need your help. She said, I imagine it's very bright. Do you remember your granddad's 90th? I said, that was 90 candles. This is 1,000,000 candles, woman. What are you talking? She said, I'm sure he had 1,000,000 on the cake at first. I said, he didn't. He was 90 years old. It was a birthday cake. He had 90 This is 999,910 candles more than he had. She said, oh, you need a bigger cake. I said, this isn't about cake. Forget cake. It's a torch. She said, you'll never fit 1,000,000 candles on a torch. I said, I'm not trying to fit them on the torch. It's a torch with the power of 1,000,000 candles. She said, how much are they? I said, $3.99. She said, I'll have 2, right? You just saved me 800 grand, she said. You're a good boy. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to welcome your first act of the evening? Yay! Please welcome to the stage Mr. Stewart Francis!
Thank you very much, and don't worry, I haven't heard of you either. In a world full of patronizing insincerity, it is so nice to be back in my beautiful hometown. Greenwich. No, I'm not actually from Greenwich. I'm from North Korea. You know you're ashamed of your country when you pick North Korea. There's Plan B. I'm not ashamed of my country. Just one person in my country. A person who's caused the world a great deal of suffering. You all know who I'm talking about. Celine Dion. Jeez. I am Canadian, although sadly I don't speak French. But as the French say, such is life. Before I rock the microphone, and I will, I want to dedicate my performance tonight to my father, who was a roofer. So, Dad, if you're up there. Do you guys like impressions? Yeah, me too. Anyway, anywho, I don't do impressions. I perform self-deprecating comedy, although I'm not very good at it, but... Last night I went to a karaoke bar that didn't play any 70s music. At first I was afraid. Oh, I was petrified. I quit my job at the helium gas factory. I refuse to be spoken to in that tone. That's the thing, my friends. I'm a one-liner comedian. I'm not a storyteller. And interesting how that all started. Most of us have bittersweet memories of our childhood. I recall one summer when the neighborhood parents were buying their children skateboards. It was the rage at the time, except for my parents. They told me that we were too poor and that they couldn't afford to buy me a skateboard. But I remember one night I tippy-toed out of my bedroom. I got a piece of wood and a hammer, and I beat them to death. My foster parents bought me 5 skateboards. It was the rage at the time. I'll tell you about my family. I'm the youngest of 3. My parents are both older. And, you know... I have mixed race parents. My father prefers the 100 meters. And my mother's Pakistani. But, a joke with 2 punchlines. This guy's good. Did I already do my deja vu joke? I want to write a mystery novel. Or do I? I actually have written a book, or have I? I won't do it again, or will he? It's hard to tell with this renegade. I've written a book about a transsexual with a speech impediment. It's titled Man or Myth. If in Bookthorth. I love to go to Bookthorth. Sorry, wrong joke. I love to go to bookstores and say to the clerk, "Hello, I'm looking for a book titled How to Deal with Rejection Without Killing." Do you have it? This may come as a surprise to some of you. Ah! No good, you like the clever stuff. I have a girlfriend. I've been going out with my girlfriend for... sex. Dirty, dirty sex. I'm married. I love my wife. If I have to say that. She has a radio. I'm not ashamed of my wife. If you don't believe me, go to the car and ask her. Ask her loud. She's in the boot. My wife is beautiful. My wife has an ass like J-Lo. No, Jell-O. Is my wife dissatisfied with my body? A tiny part of me says yes. I love coming over to Britain. I love the irony that's in this part of the world. It's everywhere. Today I slapped a homeless person so hard, my charm bracelet fell off. Isn't that fantastic? Okay. Irony. Sharon Osbourne judges talent. Oh, dear me. Irony. There's a paper in Britain called The Sun. My therapist says I have a preoccupation with vengeance. We'll see about that. Another therapist says that I have an overactive imagination, or something to that effect. I was distracted by the tap-dancing chipmunks on his water cooler. Yes, doctor. I understand, doctor. That is so cute. Do another song.
Okay. Me and my shadow strolling down the
My wife called me immature today. So I spit on her. Now I'm
lonely. I'm Mr. Lonely. I have nobody for my own.
Thank you. That's a tough note. Thanks for recognizing that. Whereas some of you are looking at me thinking, is this shit funny in Canada? No, it's not. That's why I'm here. You guys have been wonderful. Thanks for coming. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stewart Francis! Now then, are you fans of shopping? No, yeah. Are we split along gender lines, or are there men who like... Who like shopping? Yeah. Two girls, the first voices I heard. Who doesn't like shopping? Oh, it is, yeah. Either you girls are just playing with me, or we are split along gender. See, I quite like shopping. Is that unusual for a man? But then I like it if it's for me. But if it's for the other person... It should be one for you, one for me. Is that the way that couples should shop? Is that fair enough? We look for a thing for me, then we look for a thing for you. Unfortunately, I can't stand it when it's all you. You know, one thing for you, and then I think, oh, I wouldn't mind something, no, another thing for you. No, can I just get, no, another thing for you, right? I went shopping for a dress with my partner, who was a woman. And we'd been shopping for, it was one of those Saturdays, you know. See, she'd been doing that thing, you see, another thing for me, and I'd lost interest, I'll be honest with you. I'd switched off a little. We'd been to 50 different shops. She'd tried on 7 or 8 million dresses. See, I was tired and confused, you know, and she... No, I'm just explaining I'm just trying to, you know, to preempt my responses here. I'm trying to give you, you know, to tell you what happened. See, because she said after a while, see, I'd switched off. And she said, does my bum look bigger in this one or the last one? And I'd switched off a bit. So I said, it looks bigger in this one. I said, it looks much bigger in this one. I was confused, I was tired. I said, to be honest, it only just fits in this one. I switched off. I was a bit tired. I wasn't really listening. She said, what do you mean it's huge? What do you mean it's massive? What do you mean it only just fits in this one? I said, this is a smaller shop. She said, not the shop. I don't mean which shop makes my bum look bigger. I meant the dress. Which dress makes my bum look... I said, why do you want a dress to make your bum look bigger for? It's massive. She said, I don't. I want the dress to make my bum look small. The dress is to make my bum look small. I said, so now we'll give her a magic dress. Brilliant. She said, you just don't get it. You just don't get it. I just want a dress. I just want a dress that doesn't make me look like a hippo. And she said, you're not even listening. Look at you. You're miles away. You could at least look at me when I said, I'm sorry, there's a little bird on your back. Are you ready for your next act? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the wonderful Joe Neary.
Hello and welcome to the Ghastly Ghost Tour, London's premier ghost tour, where darkness engulfs the old courtyards and silent graveyards of Mother London, where dark shadows flit across the face of the moon, and twilight's gnarled fingers scratch their way through the city of the dead. Please keep to the pavement. On this spot once stood the house of Sir Rufus de Mowbray, master-in-arms to King Edward Longshanks, who died peacefully in his bed of the dropsy at the age of 72. And there are those who say, if you listen at night, you can hear him dying quietly and peacefully of the dropsy at the age of 72. And if my accent continues to wander around the country, as it's doing at the moment, I'll simply have to say to myself, Dudley. A couple of ghosts are said to exist here. The Duke of Norfolk, who spent much of his time and money here, lost his head after upsetting Queen Elizabeth Dudley. And his mocking laughter, which could so endeared him to his monarch, could still be heard echoing around the upstairs lavatory. One set of battlements connecting this walk is known as Elizabeth's Tower and is haunted by the ghost of a cavalier, the ghost of a roundhead and the ghost of a yuppie. A ghost bee, stingless, buzzes fruitlessly from flower to flower. Loud sighing can be heard throughout this house on a moonlit night, believed to be the place where an episode of Tenko was once taped over without being watched. And this alleyway is reputed to be haunted by the ghosts of a previous ghost tour who were killed in 2002 when an ancient stone wall fell on them. And they are said to wander these streets now eternally on the same endlessly repeating ghost tour. Hello and welcome to the Ghastly Ghost Tour, where darkness engulfs the old courtyards and silent graveyards. I wanted to tell you about my mum. I once wrote a character based on my mum, just as a sort of writing exercise, and this is what she'd be like if she had to do comedy. Hello! I'm Joanna's mother, and here I am on the stage! Ah! So that's my mum doing stand-up for you there. She keeps trying to be funny and ringing me up with stories and things to try and get into my act a bit more. And she rang me up to tell me about her going jogging. So she wanted to go jogging and she didn't want anyone to know she was jogging. So she took a sketchbook with her. So now she just looks like she's going sketching in a hurry. And she went jogging behind our house. Now, we live in Cornwall, and Carnbray is this old hill with lots of mine shafts on it, and you have to be careful you don't fall down a mine shaft, and dogs and things have disappeared. So she's running around on Carnbray with a sketchbook, and she sees a man, and she thinks he might be a murderer, so she takes a slightly different route. And then so she sees another man, and she thinks he might be a murderer as well, so she takes another route again. And she fell into a hole. And she said, "It took me ages to get out. It was terrible." She said, "It was awful. I could have broken my back, or worse, my legs, and then I wouldn't have been able to walk home." I do characters, and hey, Bjork.
Shh, it's so quiet.
What have you been thinking about lately? Haven't heard from you very much lately.
I went to Brighton. It was so nice. I'd like to buy a house there, but it's impossible in the current economic climate. Honestly, when I first bought my place, it was worth £130,000, and it's gone up to 200 last year. I thought I'd be mad to sell it. Now I can't give the bloody place away. It's dropped 3% in the last month. My dad says not to worry. There's no such thing as a credit crunch. It's just a shift in the economics. But my mate Dave, who works in home base, says it's going to be 40% drop by the end of next year. I don't know who to believe. It's like living in a nightmare. And my fixed-rate mortgage deal comes to an end in January. I am going to be totally shafted. Oh, that's interesting, dear. I've been Neary. You've been lovely. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Joe Neary. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for your next act? Yeah! Please welcome all the way to the stage, absolutely wonderful, Mr. Chris Addison.
Hello, team. Hello. You enjoying the global recession? I am huge. Well, I don't know if I'm enjoying the global system. I am very ambivalent towards it because, on the one hand, it is appalling to see and to know that those closest to you are going to suffer. They're going to suffer financially. They're going to suffer emotionally. There are going to be hardships ahead for families. Families could break up under appalling pressure. There's no doubt that that is bad. But isn't it lovely watching the bankers suffer? I mean, isn't it, though? Isn't it? Oh, nothing pleases me more than every night on the news some of those poor bastards with a cardboard box leaving somewhere and thinking this is the last time I'm getting into this jag before I have to put it on eBay. There's nothing... Oh, I send them letters of condolence. I do. And then I charge them £10 for the letter. And makes me feel so much better. I think basically what's happened is that we've finally been caught out as a species. Essentially, that's what's happened to us. Money was clearly the wrong way to go. That's where we failed. That was our first wrong turn. I just don't think we should ever have abandoned the bartering system. And it's a difficult system, bartering in some respects. It's cumbersome, it's awkward. You don't really want to have to haul a horse around with you everywhere you go, just in case you fancy a pint or anything like that. But it does have many inbuilt advantages. There are very few forgeries, for example, in bartering. You very rarely hear people saying, "This isn't a piglet! You've shaved a cat and permed its tail!" It turns out that money is too complicated for all of us. That's the thing. We are basically quite stupid as a bunch, as a species. And it sounds depressing, but if I may offer you some comfort on this matter, it's necessary for us to be stupid. Stupidity is a thing that has developed within humanity to make up for the fact that we have no natural predators. We humans have evolved beyond having natural predators. The only things independently trying to kill us off are ourselves, the weather, and peanuts. And we're doing best because we've evolved stupidity. We put ourselves in danger where we need not put ourselves in danger. That's what extreme sports are. That's what those dolts up that mountain were doing. Fools who were rained off a mountain. And the RAF and the mountain rescue had to come out at the cost of millions of pounds. Leave them! Leave them up there. That is evolution at work. That's what that is. It's not a marathon anyway. It's not a proper... proper marathons don't have cagoules. Proper marathons are glorious, moving occasions. I love the marathon. It's, I think, my favourite sporting event. I like it partly because it has its origins in history. The marathon began in ancient Greece because some idiot in ancient Greece ran all the way from the seaport of Marathon to Athens in a great big rhino suit. Measured it, fell down dead. And then 15 minutes later, a bloke in a wheelchair came in behind him. They are the coolest athletes in all of sport, aren't they? The wheelchair runners in the marathon, nobody beats them for sheer cool. Because the look on the faces of the able-bodied runners, the stress and the strain on that kind of every step is for Kathy kind of a look that they have. And the guys in the wheelchairs just take 5 strokes and have a break. They just go... like that. With the sticker on the back of their chair saying, "My other chair's still faster than you, leg boy." Brilliant. And also, those people, the wheelchair runners, are fantastic, positive role models in mainstream culture for disabled people, and there really aren't enough of those. I had quite a discussion with a friend of mine about this. How do you redress the balance of the lack of positive role models for disabled people in mainstream British culture? And I was saying, well, why don't we... Well, you talk about these things, right? And my argument was, why don't we reintroduce piracy? Right? Because, yes, pirates are the perfect role models for disabled people because they were the kings of the high seas. They were the terrors of Hispaniola, and every single one of them had a disability. You know, no leg, hook for a hand, eye patch. Entire ships filled with disabled men ruling the oceans of the 18th century with their own special mooring space in the harbour only they were allowed to use. A bit nearer the pub than everybody else. Entire ships filled with men with only one eye each. That's where they got their reputation for aggression. They weren't ramming other ships out of violent intent. They just had no depth of vision. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I thought you were on a bigger ship further away. I can only apologise. Let's swap insurance detail. Once the eye patch goes on, that's when the other limbs start going, isn't it? Because of the increased likelihood of kitchen accidents. The pirate in the galley chopping onions going... Ah! Right! right from your wrist. Oh, that's smart. Pass me a hook. Good as new. Happy pirate. I never really understood. Why is a hook an adequate substitute for a human hand? Unless pirates do actually run like trams. That's the only... Do you suppose that people went into piracy and then developed the voice? Or did they go into piracy because they had the voice in the first place and there were very few options open to them? I mean, a conversation with their careers teacher saying, what were you thinking of doing after A-levels? Well, I was thinking of going into accountancy. Don't think that's going to work out. How do you? Oh, curse it! They never got the hang of treasure, pirates, either, did they? And that was their whole raison d'etre, or reason of to be, as the French say. They never got the hang of it. We got the treasure! Brilliant. Now what? Let's bury it! Okay, then what's get more treasure? Now, it's just, shouldn't the word spend be in there somewhere? That's a cycle of piratical stupidity, essentially. They're like a cross between magpies and dogs. Shiny berry! Shiny berry! Stockpiling. What are you going to do? Open a bank? Well, I think they did. No, I think they actually, because the modern banking system started. Well, you know, the one that's just finished anyway. The banks to 2008. The modern banking system began in the 18th century, roughly the same time that the pirates were in their heyday. I think it was them who started it, and that's why they run on roughly the same system now. So if you go to Barclays, or whichever one is open still, if you go to the bank, right, it runs on a piratical system. You put your money behind the counter. The woman behind the counter goes, no, like every bank cashier. She charters a sailing ship, sails to the West Indies, finds a desert island, digs a hole, buries your money, marks an X on the chit, and sails all the way home again. And that is why it takes 4 bloody working days to get in your account in the age of the computer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. See you again. That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to 4 Stands Up on Radio 4. You have heard Stewart Francis, Joe Neary, Chris Addison. I've been Rod Gilbert. The producer is Salusha Galani. Thank you very, very much, and see you next week.